What's good, y'all? It's Drew here, back with another collab. So today we got a special guest, someone that actually I've never had on my channel before. So why don't you introduce yourself, bro?
Hello, I'm Kyle Breeze. I make some crazy JJK videos. I have some crazy takes. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, anytime, bro. I mean, so today we this is actually a really good interesting video we have set up. So we're gonna talk about some JJK plot points and how they're kind of gonna resolve, or how the story's seeming to unfold. Because I'm not gonna lie, the Culling Games is kind of live right now. But what are your just overall thoughts on the Culling Games? Because I have a take that every time I talk about JJK I always bring up. But what are your like overall Culling Games thoughts?
I feel like it depends on what we say constitutes or counts as the Culling Game. So, for example, I know some people count the Yuki versus Kenjaku fight as the Culling Game because it takes place, I guess, in between the arc. I try not to include that in the Culling Game because it's an event that takes place. Well, it's not even taking place in the Culling Game itself. But
Oh, okay.
I feel like, yeah, even if you include that, and it depends on if you want to include the current Yorozu stuff. I guess it technically does count because it's all still part of the Culling Game. If it all counts, I think it's like 10 out of 10. I think it's like, it's crazy good.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, I forgot. She's definitely gonna. We're gonna talk about her probably. Hopefully, we none of us forget. We're gonna talk about her at the end. But for me and JJK, like I started watching JJK in 2021 or so. And I really enjoyed it. I liked, if you're, for anime onlys, I liked the arc that's about to hit for season 2. It's about to hit for y'all. I liked, the Shibuya arc. That I think that's like a top tier shonen arc just in general. But like when the Culling Games hit for me, and I feel like my fans might be tired of me saying this, but it was like I felt like I was hit with Gojo's domain expansion, because it was just like a rush of information. Like I really didn't understand a lot of things. Like I know the Culling Games started and like the rules were a little convoluted for me, and then we kind of got hit with a bunch of like information, like a bunch of techniques and stuff, and like I was just kind of playing catch up and stuff. But like, what are your like? Do you feel like JJK is like a complicated series in that sense?
I think it's not. I can understand if you like. Is it your first time reading it? Did you read it all in one go, or were you reading it week to week?
So I've gone back and looked at JJK a couple times, but initially it was a week to. Initially it was a catch up. Then I went back to read it again. Like I've read JJK, like at least the Culling Games from Shibuya to Culling, or I guess I could say from like the Gojo flashback arc to the Culling Games a couple times. I think maybe 2 or 3 times now, but.
Yeah, I think it's. By the way, I actually got someone upset at me on Twitter about this. It's the hidden inventory arc.
Yeah.
I got someone upset saying, "Yeah, like oh, it's not the Gojo." Like oh, well,
yeah, like
it is. Just for that. But yeah, I wanted to ask, like, so you said you read from Shibuya and you played catch up. So what point did you go up to? Like, was it the Kashimo fight? Was it the Sendai colony fight?
I think it was the Kashimo fight, at least the second time. The first time it was like at the very, very beginning of the Culling Games, when like Yuji first jumped into it. That's kind of where I was at with it.
I see. I mean, at least, I guess. Actually, no, I could definitely understand if it was your first time, like, and you just read it all in one go. Because usually when we tend to read things in like one big go, or like in a, I guess like it just all at once, it's harder to retain all the information or to process it all. I guess because I've been reading it week to week, and I do tend to, even when I was reading week to week, I'd go back on the chapters. It's been pretty simple, but I know because I do have like a friend actually, she actually read all of it until the Kashimo arc, until Kashimo versus Hakari.
Yeah.
And she was so confused because she read it all in a day that she
yeah.
didn't even know Kenjaku and Geto were separate.
Yeah. I think that's we can jump into the video too soon too, but I think that might be my issue with sometimes, like, especially with, we're both content creators, at least for me especially, I have to sometimes I'll read a series or watch a series and kind of I'm doing it with the intent to make a video or something on it. So I'm kind of going through the process really quickly, and I'll sit back and I finish the video, I'm like, whoa, it's like in one ear out the other type thing. But like,
Yeah.
Like I will say, of the like I have gone back and kind of like looked at JJK, so I will say like I have enjoyed at least the Culling Games. I guess my the final question for this first part would be like, between the Culling Game, like, do you think the Culling Games is the best arc in JJK, at least right now?
I've had this debate so many times. Is it Shibuya or is it Culling Game? I guess because I'm counting the Enchain moment, so I'm counting that and everything that went after. So the 2v1 of Maki, the Ryu. Oh god, that still hurts me. Well, yeah. If we include all that stuff, I will give it to the Culling Game. But I feel like the Shibuya arc is just, it's better like written in a shorter amount of time, if I'll say. Like I do think Shibuya is better structured and written, but I do actually prefer the Killing. Yeah, they're both fantastic.
Okay.
But just to end on the previous one, I guess this whole topic actually, I think if you compare it with other shonen, it's definitely really complicated, JJK.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you just compare it to other series overall, I don't think it's complicated. But I can understand because a lot of people start reading it, especially with the beginning, how it's very shonen-esque.
Yeah.
That you'll think you're getting into like a more, let's say like Demon Slayer type of series. But then all of a sudden, all this information I can see why a lot of people would be, I guess, let's say, shell-shocked by that.
Yeah. But I mean, I will say from what like with JJK in general, like we're about to touch into it right now. Like JJK has a lot of hype and crazy moments, and I think the way that Gege has been kind of like writing the series or setting it up is like really interesting, which will lead us. This kind of leads us to our first point. The first storyline that I'm really that I think you can obviously tell me if you agree or not would be interesting to kind of go over, or interesting to see how it's revealed, is Yuta versus Kenjaku, because they've been sizing Yuta and obviously in Kenjaku as well, but they've been sizing their battle for such a long time, and also they've been sizing their domain expansion, because I think there was even a scene where Yuta was in like a three-way deadlock or three-way battle, and he activated his domain expansion, and we didn't see it. I think I was a little confused with the Kenjaku if he had. It seems like does he have more than one domain expansion? I was like, I don't.
So there's many possibilities. So it's either A, he has many different type of domain expansions that have different shahets, or B. So I think it's this option though. B, he has one type of domain expansion, so it's like the womb perfusion, which we saw, but he can switch out the shahit with any of the techniques that he has, because it will make. I'll explain it later, but that's why that one makes a lot more sense.
Okay. I think I even said this on one of your most recent videos. Like Yuta and Kenjaku, the battle, we're honestly preparing for it, and obviously it's gonna be good. But I'm just worried because I know Kenjaku's been. I'm not gonna lie, Kenjaku's he's a top tier villain in terms of just like his planning. Like since the moment we found out Kenjaku was basically not Geto, the moment which is when Gojo was sealed, the moment that we saw that scene, Kenjaku's just been pulling the strings like effortlessly. Like everything has been going according to plan. We're just seeing what he's doing with everything, and it's just kind of crazy. And Yuta, like they're gonna fight, and like we know Yuta's gonna get dropped. Like it's kind of like a fact. So it's kind of, I don't know. Yeah. Like how do you feel like the battle's gonna like overall just kind of go through?
I mean, so unfortunately for this part, I have a bunch of crazy theories. Alright, these are all theories. I don't think they're confirmed, but the first one is I do think it's possible that Yuta has a copied Six Eyes and Limitless.
Oh yeah, you did say something about that.
Because he did meet up with Gojo, and like this was before Shibuya, and Gojo said something's gonna happen to me, so Gojo was aware that something was gonna happen. And I know there's like a lot of arguments for and against Yuta having these Six Eyes. So Limitless is fine, but because people are saying it's genetic. I think there's a lot of actual valid points to think that he has the Six Eyes itself, but regardless, I do think even if he doesn't have that, at the very least, he would have a lot of lethal and deadly curse techniques, which he didn't use in the Sendai fight because he wasn't trying to kill Udo and Ryu, because obviously, after talking to them, he realized they weren't also bad people, because he sympathized with them a lot. But in regards to Kenjaku, I do think it's going to end with... Kenjaku's probably going to kill him, but I think he's going to take his body. With his with his domain expansion. Yeah, it was... Because he can switch out the... I mean, he's so skilled that it's not just the fact that he can use different hit techniques. So obviously, he used Itadori's mother's curse technique, the anti-gravity technique. He used that as a hit. He used the reversal of that curse technique as the hit. So it wasn't even the actual curse technique. It was the reversal of that, which is the gravity, and he used that as a hit. And then we see from the domain expansion, womb perfusion, that's actually his own domain expansion, so that's the one where he uses to swap bodies. Obviously, this implies that he can use different type of techniques, so he could probably use Geto's curse technique as a hit, and obviously he can use his body swapping one. So my theory is, if he has a domain clash of Yuta, he's going to use the hit of the body swapping technique to take his body.
It's funny because with Yuta, I'm not gonna lie, I honestly kind of forgotten that he could like borrow technique. I mean, he's like obviously if you read like you should read the JJK Zero. Everyone who's JJK fan has read it, and that was kind of like it was JJ. Yuta was like the main character, and we saw he was able to copy curse techniques. It was really cool, and I feel like obviously he hasn't had a chance to do it as much as he did it in like that in that mini series.
I got you. So that's the big misconception. It happens a lot because a lot of things in JJK Zero, let's just say, to say the very least, are very inconsistent, and a lot of things we know for a fact aren't true anymore. So obviously the first one being Yuta in the JJK Zero could copy curse techniques unconditionally. We know that he can't do that now. I think that was actually a mistranslation as well when Kenjaku said it. Right now he absolutely needs a requirement to actually copy curse techniques.
Okay.
And there was also like another big nerf. So because the soul of Rika lost, that's why he has all these binding vows. So as you saw in like JJK Zero, I think he brought her out for like 7 or 15 minutes at some point. But because the soul is gone, he needs to place all these restrictions. So now he needs conditions, and now he has like a big time limit. But in general, JJK Zero has a lot of, and I mean a lot of plot holes and inconsistencies, which is just not true. But you know, it was the one shot, so I guess that's why that's that.
Yeah, I guess that's okay. Now that I guess that does actually clear a lot of stuff up. But I guess to the point of like, it's like to your to kind of the point of what you're saying with like Kenjaku, and like if he steals Yuta's body, like it's kind of a wrap, because like one thing I love about JJK is the way that they size characters to a degree. Like obviously animes and size characters, that's what they do, but like we saw Yuji got his you know, Yuji was sized, Megumi obviously was sized, Gojo, but Yuta, like what they always said with him was, okay, like he has more, like he has more cursed energy than Gojo himself. Obviously the reason why Gojo's Gojo is because like it's like the consumption of cursed energy that Gojo uses is like, it's like so close to zero, it's like not worth mentioning. It's like, I think he said something like that, where it's like he uses such a small amount of energy that it's like he just can like he's just Gojo kind of thing. So like
it may as well be zero. Yeah,
exactly, it may as well be zero. Like that's how I get. I think isn't that like part of his? Isn't that like from the 6 eyes?
Yes, the 6 eyes.
Okay, yeah.
So he can push anything to an infinite point. What's crazy is not only does he have, so he can make it so he loses cursed energy to like an infinitely low point, but he can also amplify his attacks infinitely to make them as strong as he. It's crazy. He's very powerful.
He's literally the goat of his verse. Like it's not, but yeah. It's like Yuta's up there. Like I think Gojo was even like, yeah, Yuta can surpass him. And obviously we see later on, I think it's Geto, or I think it's Geto. I'm not sure if it's him or Kenjaku. I don't remember where in this story. I think it was no, it was probably Kenjaku, because this is when Gojo's being sealed. He's like, yeah, Gojo's wrong. Like there's not like.
That was Kenjaku.
Yeah, he says, yeah, Yuta's there. Like Yuta's not Gojo, kind of thing. But like he's not Gojo.
Never be the next one.
Yeah, he won't be the next Gojo. But like, if Kenjaku gets a hold of Yuta's body, like this, it's a lot of stuff can be happening. It's kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of worrisome, especially with we'll touch on like Sukuna soon, but especially with what Sukuna's doing, it's just like, I don't even think I think this obviously be a point as well, but like we're in a state right now where it's like, bro, we need Gojo. It's just it's getting nasty. Yeah. I don't know what else we could do. Just overall.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate. I can't lie. The only hope they have is because Angel's also, I think, one of the top 4 strongest in the series, the Heian sorcerer.
Yeah.
Unless Takaba somehow saved Angel while they were off screen, then it's looking peak. It's looking very peak for everyone.
Yeah. But like that's like the whole. I think that the Yuta and Kenjaku battle will be really, really tough though, and seeing their domain expansion and kind of having it explained more, or at least seeing Yuta's and having Kenjaku's fully explained, I'm looking forward to that. Obviously,
I just wanted to say this because I know there's going to be a lot of people who will say this in the comments if I don't. A lot of people think Kenjaku is guaranteed to win, which could be true because he has an open domain, so people think that means it's more refined. It could be true because there's like a lot of connotation or explanation both by the narrative and by Kenjaku himself, both of them saying it's impressive in the narrative, saying an open domain is a divine kind of technique. So it is possible that that's what makes a domain more refined, because Gojo does explain that the more refined a domain is, the more likely, or not more likely, it will just win in a domain clash, because we also see Yuta's domain is a closed type. I do want to say that it's just not guaranteed. I don't want to say it's guaranteed because people think Yuta would lose instantly. We even saw Kenjaku himself said if Yuki used her actual domain, it wouldn't have gone as badly for Yuki.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I want to give something for Yuta.
Yeah, no, I mean, my reason, like, I guess to my point, to like the point of that, like my thinking on why Yuta's gonna lose is just like, Kenjaku just, I mean, obviously Kenjaku could be overconfident, but Kenjaku just feels like that, like he just feels like he's got everything under control. I don't think that. Maybe Yuta has enough to kind of like overtake him, but it doesn't. I'm not confident in that sense. But
I get you. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people think, even myself, I think it might not be like a 1v1 though. So people think it'd be like a 3v1 of Yuji and Maki and Yuta. People think it'd be Maki and Yuta, which would be very great. Because think about it. Basically, Yuta can't use all the curse tools Rika has to its max potential, but someone who's like a curse tools master, like Maki, will be able to use every single tool to its max potential. I keep swapping them out. So people think maybe, I mean, if it happens, Maki and Yuta gang up on Kenjaku, then that's kind of a wrap for Kenjaku. Can't even lie.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we'll have to see how that stuff kind of ends up looking, but
yeah.
I think like another point that I think is really, really important, especially with like the most recent chapters, is the sukuna backstory, because, or even like the whole era, which is I don't want to get like the pronunciation of this wrong.
It's the Heian era. I just say Heian though.
Oh, you said
I say it wrongly, but it is the Heian era. Yeah.
The Heian era. Okay, yeah. So like I mean the whole era, we don't know a lot about it. Obviously we know Sukuna's from so obviously Sukuna's like era. I'm trying to think of anyone else that's like super like. So we also know isn't like it's like called the golden age of sorcerers, I think.
Yes.
So like what's something that you kind of want to like see about that kind of with that era, like anything?
I mean, I would love to see, especially like the top 3 clans. I imagine there were a lot of clans back then who were super powerful, because we see that underling or servant level characters such as, it's crazy, Uraume and Uro, again, both underlings and one's also a servant. They are both like special grade level in terms of modern day, but they are actual fodder tier. Well, maybe not fodder tier, but pretty much fodder tier back for the Heian era, right?
Yeah.
I'm just so curious to see, because obviously we're seeing the top tiers like Angel, the amount of cursed energy she has, so Jacob's ladder just actually covers the sky and illuminates the entire city in light. That was one technique that was being borrowed from Hana herself. And then obviously we see even characters like Yorozu, who's easily keeping up with 15 Fingered Sukuna, and even he has to use Mahoroga right now, and you know, this is someone who insta-blitzed and one-shot Ryu and true speed blitzed him, even without his cleave, just actually came behind him before his brain could process.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
And then we also see like Sukuna talking about the past curses such as the Yamato no Orochi, and he's also talking about, we also see I think Gojo, when he's talking about the past era, the Golden Age, Heian era, he is thinking about a 9-tailed fox. And even Gojo himself says that Jogo is just not bad compared to back then, and Jogo is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, curse in the modern day.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. I can't even imagine. The Heian era must have been crazy.
And I remember like before, I don't know if it was before, I think it was before Angel, like a lot of the discourse in like the community was kind of along the lines of like, because Gojo was clearly number 1, like he's still, like Gojo is still left, like he's still number 1. At least from what we've seen. People are like, oh, Gojo's not going to come back because he's still so much stronger than everyone else. But like an argument people had was like, even if Gojo comes back, what if we start getting like the golden age of sorcerers? Like what if we start running into those kind of people and they could give Gojo bump? Because as we know, Gojo's not the first 6 eyes he's not the first 6 eyes user who has affinity.
So there are 2 arguments for both of those that I think disprove them both, because I'm a Gojo fan, so yeah, I gotta say what I say. But the first one is, we know that there have been a few 6 eyes and limitless users, but one of them, the fact that one of them died to Mahoroga is honestly really pathetic. Like even if it was an amped Mahoroga, there is no way a 6 eyes limitless user should be dying for that, and the fact that it did is again embarrassing. The best explanation for that is obviously we know current Gojo would, even to say one-shot Mahoroga, an amped Mahoroga is like an understatement, it would insta-kill it. It's probably a case where, if you remember in the hidden inventory, so when he fought Toji, so it's like a very, what is it, like 16, 17-year-old Gojo, doesn't even have a domain in like a 2 or 3 techniques. Just go reverse curse technique.
Yeah, this is like a fresh Gojo.
It's probably like a very inexperienced or very young 6 eyes limitless user that died to Mahoroga. Because I imagine, if Toji had killed Gojo back then, imagine throughout history they would have been saying, wow, a heavily restricted user killed a 6 eyes limitless.
Yeah.
Obviously that takes a lot of our context that this is a very like baby weak version of Gojo. Like it's just very weak.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And the second thing would be, we can see even 15 Fingers is, I guess, like obviously he would beat Yorozu if he had his curse, like if he could use Shrine, his curse technique. But I do want to say, because each finger is an exponential increase.
Yeah. So
we know how strong 20 Fingers is. We know, like, even back in the day, it was said that when all of the strongest sorcerers teamed up to kill Sukuna, they lost. So eventually they had to seal him, right? I think it's the same with Gojo. Like, I do think Gojo and Sukuna on such a level where, like, 20 Fingered Sukuna and Gojo, where even if you have all the top tiers, they're not touching these
them.
guys.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I said infinity instead of limitless, so I don't want people to get on my head about that. I guess so like the pushback I would give on that is, and I think Gojo likes to hype up his students. He does this often. I think he's hyped up Maki before. I think obviously he said Yuta could surpass him. He said Megumi could surpass him. He obviously gives Yuji like his flowers and whatnot. But like, don't you think that like when he was talking about like, oh, he was like, yeah, you could surpass me, but he's like, you could surpass me. The last limitless Six Eyes usually was killed by a person with the 10 shadows. Like, what do you think that means to you? Like, what do you think that means? Like, don't you think that like, for instance, for like a Megumi character, for instance, I wouldn't be surprised, and I've always wanted to make a veil on this, but I wouldn't be surprised if we have a couple characters that surpass Gojo in strength EOS. In that sense,
yeah, I get what you're saying. The reason I don't agree is because let's say, because Gojo and Sukuna are two characters who are like a 1 out of 1,000 type of character. Like, when I mean 1 out of 1,000, I mean 1,000 years, by the way.
Yeah,
like, that's how rare they are, right? Like, that's how uncommon they are as well. One thing we know about, so the databooks actually confirm this. I think Gege also reconfirms in an interview, but the databooks actually say, and Gojo himself actually in a chapter extra where he breaks the fourth wall, he is perfect in every single aspect of like life in general, all but his personality. And obviously this includes him being wrong. So obviously we see at the end of the death painting arc where Yuji, so at the end of season 1, so that arc, death painting arc, they actually reconfirm that Gojo was completely wrong about what he told Yuji, and then even Megumi and Nobara are like, oh yeah, Gojo is just always wrong. How can you even believe him? And I've seen many other instances,
that's funny.
Yeah, where Gojo is just time and time again, where he's just like wrong and wrong and wrong. I'm not saying he's always wrong, but I do think, at least for he thinks everyone's going to surpass him. I don't think he was wrong per se. I do think everyone's got special grade potential, because his main point was like, what he says to Principal Gakuganji, the principal for the Kyoto school, he says, like, there's going to come a point when special grade is meaningless, and then it shows Todo of all people, Todo, and Yuji. So I think that's what he means, though, because obviously, even if like a past 10 Shadows user killed, even let's say a weaker version of a Six Eyes and Limitless, even Gojo, when he was a little kid, so when he's like, I think when he's 7 or 8, was already special grade level, and made grade 1 sorcerers. Like, as we saw with those two assassins, the Necromancer Granny and the Inverse Guy, he actually made them back away just by
that was a peak scene of I see what you're saying.
So I think mainly what he's saying is they have potential to easily reach special grade at the very least.
That's interesting. I guess I'm not like, that's an interesting interpretation, and I think that I do remember the whole thing about Gojo's personality and him kind of tweaking on that. In terms of just battle prowess, and obviously like anything involving battle, like I do agree. Like Gojo's, even before he was sealed, like especially before he was sealed, actually, the good guys were like, all right, all we have to do is hold off until Gojo gets back and we're good. Even when Gojo was, like you said, 16, honestly, this is like in comparison to Choppa's Gojo, like he doesn't even have most of his techniques. Like, he and Geto are still known as the two strongest sorcerers. So I do, and obviously like
actually,
he's not.
They were wrong about that as well.
But like,
because Yuki existed.
You did okay. So okay.
So
you think Yuki was strong?
I was just saying how he's always wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For the wait. So who's?
Because Geto was a grade 1 at that point. Sorry to cut you off.
No. You're straight. Because we don't really have Yuki on the list, but she did kind of tee up against Sukuna, not Sukuna, against Kenjaku.
And it just goes to show like how wrong. Even as a teenager, Gojo said we're the strongest. Maybe I get it for him. I still think Yuki would have been that version who didn't even have reverse casting or domain. But she would have instantly like blitzed in one shot that grade 1 version of Geto. Can't even lie. Yeah, and they were saying they were the strongest. Well, Gojo even said he's the strongest. So
yeah. So do you wait? I guess this is a good question then. Do you think that Gojo was stronger than that Yuki was stronger than Gojo in
At that, you can argue maybe not, because when he was post awakening against Doji,
post awakening he probably had.
He didn't just get even though he's at big disadvantage because he doesn't have a lot of his techniques. State like greater teleportation, a lot of the other hidden techniques we don't have, and obviously his domain expansion, so Yuki has that. You could still make the argument because he did get, I think it was like 3 different power-ups. So obviously the first one is a reverse casting power-up. The second one is a massive mental power-up, and as we know, mental power-ups do translate into a big boost of cursed energy, it does seem in that case it's a pretty big one for Gojo.
Yeah.
So maybe with that he would actually, because he did blitz even Toji and load with Toji after that.
Didn't he also get? Didn't he get purple as well? Isn't that when he awakened it, or am I?
Yes,
Okay,
and with reverse curse technique and the red.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still debatable. But at the very least, what's true is that he was still making that statement with Geto as well, even before he got his awakening. So Yuki would have destroyed.
Yuki would destroy. That is crazy to think about. Shout out. I mean, honestly, shout out Yuki. We can. I mean, we're already here. We can talk about her. Like, well, I mean, this is not really much. Like, how do you? We just like what's been happening with her like so far. How do you? Because I'm not gonna lie. Like, when Yuki was when she first talked to like Geto, and basically when you think about it, changed Geto's whole mindset. I remember thinking, I was like, is she like? Obviously she's not evil, but I was like, can we investigate her? Because it felt like it was like, I'm not gonna lie, it felt like she like pushed him on that direction. I'm like, yo, like what the heck? So I've always found Yuki is very, and obviously we see later like Toji's like, oh, what kind of girl do you like? That's from that, like that's from Yuki. That like, so Yuki has had a lot of inspiration in the series. I think it's kind of underrated, and it's kind of funny to think about.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things about Yuki. Like, the first one is, I think it goes back to what Megumi said, how they're not heroes. And obviously, we've seen even Gojo was, he like, I think he traumatized like thousands of people in Shibuya when he used his domain for 0.2 seconds.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So we know that at the very least, like, they're good, but they all, it's JJK lies in a very gray area. Yeah. Like, it is what it is. But at least for Yuki, I've seen a great theory by a Comet on Twitter. It's such a great theory. So, have you read My Hero Academia?
I actually have not.
Did you watch it?
No, I haven't watched it. But what's the theory?
Yeah, I'm gonna say like a spoiler for something that's gonna happen soon in the anime. It's a manga spoiler, so
yeah, that's fine.
Be warned for like next 20 seconds. But
yeah.
when Stars and Stripes, basically, when her quirk is taken by All For One. Basically, there's a main villain called All For One. He can take other people's powers, but he takes the powers of the strongest person in the world. And her power or her quirk is so strong that it actually revolts inside of him and even destroys some of his other quirks, right? His powers. I saw someone on Twitter called Comet say something similar is going to happen to the merger. So when Kenjaku does his merger, obviously he's going to use Kenjaku as the vessel, Tengen as the vessel, to take all the people in Japan. Obviously this wouldn't include sorcerers, because even if you have a slight amount of cursed energy, you can actually reject it if you're a sorcerer. But people are saying this might include Yuki, even though she's dead. And because she was a former, or at the very least she was actually a potential vessel for Tengen, so she was a star plasma vessel, she actually might have influence in that merger, because the merger is Tengen, and she might actually be able to revolt inside of it.
So you think this is like
that's
Yuki's like ultimate plan, or you just think that like?
I don't think it's her plan, but I think it might happen unintentionally by all parties.
Okay.
Where she might have influence inside the merger. It's like a decent theory. I thought it was actually a great theory.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, that's actually pretty interesting. It's like Yuki's kind of been like an underrated like element in all like the big stuff. Kind of the big plot point that like I think is kind of taken JJK by storm. I know my brother, he reads JJK. He was telling me, he's like, yo, read JJK. This big thing happened. I was like, okay, like, what is it? I'm okay, like, bro. So the Megumi stuff, like, okay, so and it kind of sold, because a lot of these things I wanted to make videos about, but I never got a chance to. Like, since episode 3, like, it's always been talked about. Okay, Sukuna has honestly looked at Megumi as like that guy. Like, that guy is in the sense of like, this guy's important. We see episode, I think it was episode 2 or 3. He brings it back from light, like he dies, but he brings it back. It's like, okay, he's like, I have a plan for you. It's even a point, I think when Yuji eats, I think it's 10 thing, like when in Shibuya when Yuji's going, or when Sukuna's going crazy.
It's 11, yeah.
11, yeah. When Sukuna's going crazy, he makes sure he's like, oh yeah, Megumi's good. Like, it's like he's had his eyes on Megumi, and like to find out, obviously what we find out, which is kind of like that Megumi was what he thought was what the perfect vessel for him. That was kind of like the whole idea. And he wanted to get Megumi at his lowest point, which was when Megumi would find the truth about his like quote unquote sister,
when his soul broke.
Yeah, which is, it's crazy. So I mean, one, shout out Yuji, because Yuji's soul, Yuji's soul never broke at that, like, to that degree, even though which is
I think he tried it when he showed him the mass murder he did in Shibuya.
Yeah,
with his domain.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
tried to break him, but he couldn't. Like,
you have that. This was a moment. I think this was another low point for Yuji, when Mahito dropped off when he killed Nobara, and then I forgot what was his
Nobara might come back.
Yeah, no, he quote unquote killed Nobara. We'll get into her too. Quote unquote, killed her, and I'm trying to remember his name. It's not Nobara. It's the bro
Toto?
that got not Toto saves him from this, but it's the like
Junpei?
No, in Shibuya he got dropped off by Mahito.
Nanami?
Yeah, Nanami. Like,
sorry, Mahito's killed a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm like, he was killing. Honestly, not like
he's killed a lot.
Yeah, so he kills Nanami, then he quote unquote, then he kills Nobara, and it's like, yo, Yuji. At that point, Yuji was probably what we saw is like the lowest, and obviously, shout out my boy Toto. Toto is MVP. One of the MVPs. I'm thinking JJK. He kind of brings it back, but the fact that Yuji was not at that was not lower than what Megumi was at was crazy. But the plot twist was crazy. Like the whole Sukuna thing. Like, how do you think? Do you think Sukuna's gonna hit 20 fingers soon in Megumi's body? And like, how do you think that and like what do you think about that whole overall situation? Because that was crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, there's a lot of theories how Gojo's gonna have to fight. At the very least, when Gojo fights Sukuna, he's got to be at 20 fingers or Sukuna would get smoked. I know it's crazy Sukuna fans say maybe he'll have a chance, but there is also the possibility that, like, I've seen fan art of this where Gojo actually wears his blindfold on again when he gets unsealed because he doesn't want to see Megumi as Sukuna. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
An interesting dilemma, yeah. But this is my favorite theory, by the way. Some people actually think, and if this happens, it's going to be the rawest, most badass moment I've seen, maybe in manga, in general, right? One of the best.
Yeah.
People say Sukuna himself might unseal Gojo just to fight him.
That would be so raw. Oh my god, that would be so raw.
Yeah, because Kenjaku has the front of the prison realm. So he can open it whenever he wants. I'm just saying, like, if Sukuna does that, and he doesn't even matter if he wins, but if he wins,
it'll be
my god,
like the fight will be like like that. Like this is like the other storyline, which is Gojo and Sukuna fighting to the death. Because again, this is another thing that like JJK has set up a lot of things that we know they gotta at least happen, right? Like Gojo, Sukuna, which is what this is like one finger Sukuna fights Gojo. Gojo embarrasses him. It's not even close. So okay,
sits
cool.
on him.
Yeah, it sits on. It's one of the coolest like early fights. Like you're like, wow, this Gojo guy's tough. I think even someone asked him later, like, what happens if Gojo's like, yeah, if he has all 20 fingers, he's unbeatable. He's like, well, could you beat him? He's like, I'd still win. And Gojo's very Gojo's really confident. But since then, people have been like, yo, Gojo, 20 finger Sukuna. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm team Gojo obviously because he's that guy.
Yeah,
but
man,
yeah, like it's gonna be especially when we saw how the gaps in fingers, we saw like you said, the exponential growth. We saw a powerful 15 finger growth, like. Sukuna, 20 finger Sukuna it's obviously gonna be bumped for Gojo, but to your point of like their battle, like it's gonna be an insane thing. I think there's no way Gege like gives us the series wrapping up without us seeing Gojo versus 20 finger Sukuna. So
I mean, yeah, even the Daya books actually confirmed. So this Daya book came out after Sukuna had appeared in Shibuya.
Yeah,
it actually confirmed. But Gege himself said no. So there's a question. It said, Gege, who is the strongest character that we've seen in the series? And again, this is after 15-fingered Sukuna had appeared in Shibuya.
Yeah.
He says Gojo. Gojo is still, he says like Gojo's still the strongest or something crazy. Like word for word, right?
Yeah.
And it does go to show you that, again, like, you can argue he doesn't have the 10 shadows, but this is still a Sukuna who has Yuji's body with his shrine techniques, obviously the Clean Stance and the flames, and his domain.
He can do everything, basically. He's
not
limited, yeah.
Exactly, and the fact that, like, Gege himself is so confident, like it's not even close, maybe, it's just like Gojo.
Yeah,
so like 20 fingers is gonna be massive power.
Exactly. That's what I like. For the most part, anyone else, Gojo's still clear. Gojo's still very, very, very much clear of 15 finger Sukuna. Like that 20 finger guy, like man.
I mean, there are theories that like there's two theories concerning Yuji, and this does have to do with Sukuna as well. So the first one is obviously we still don't know why Kenjaku made or gave birth to Yuji, why he, I guess, got busy with Genius.
I'm not gonna lie, that's also that's like a very underlooked wild scene, like, but yeah, to your point, I'll touch that.
He got like, I've seen someone's Corey, he said he got cream pied for the sake of Jujutsu science, and I'm like, okay, man.
Oh no, it's like
this guy's crazier than Aizen, man. Like,
bro, he's getting cracked for like just for your plan. Like you can't.
I respect it.
Like
I respect his dedication.
Yeah. Even when it happened, I was like, we see like Yuji's mom, and she has the little. I'm like, yo, what the hell?
Yeah, this is fucked.
So
it's like necromancy.
Yeah,
necrophilia
on steroids.
Crack out of it.
Yeah, and even like
sorry.
Yeah, nah, you're straight. I think crack's a little. Yeah, I think crack's probably better than steroids at that point. But not like even Sukuna, you know, slapping when he was slapping around Yuji, he was like, wait, how did you survive that? He's like, oh, this kenjaku, this like, you know, he's thinking like that. So it's like, so clearly there's gonna be more like Yuji's is special. Like there's more with that. There's more along the lines of that information that we're gonna kind of get involved. But
yeah, so at least in regards to that, by the way, just in case people read the Viz, so the official translation, that there was actually a big mistranslation where they say it's the Harima statue. That's actually not true. I don't know why Viz added the statue part. So in the official Japanese text, and obviously in other translations, so TCB, which is more reliable, they actually just say he's the guy from the Hirima, or how do you say it, like that area or provenance that used to exist back in the Edo and the Heian era period of Japan, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's not he's not referring to a statue, he's referring to an actual guy back then. So whether Yuji's like an incarnation or reincarnation, that's like a whole other thing. But the reason I brought up Kenjaku, by the way, and it wasn't just to discuss the interesting parts that he's done to achieve his plans.
Yeah.
It is also like, it's the fact that, again, as to why he created Yuji, I've seen two theories. One of them being, maybe it's possible that he made Yuji, so I saw this from No Operator actually, he's the first person I saw say this. He said that he actually created Yuji to be the perfect vessel for the merger. So obviously maybe the merger needs a vessel. Perhaps because again, we've seen Yuji is honestly the perfect. He's able to hold Sukuna, so
yeah,
he's been called the perfect vessel.
Yes.
So maybe he's able, like, the only person who can hold the merger when it's fully completed.
Yeah.
But I've also seen another theory where Kenjaku's gonna take Yuji's body, because now Yuji's body has Sukuna's technique ingrained on it, and maybe he can actually activate it somehow.
That's a good point. I always thought that. I was always saying, if you look at the series, you can make an argument that the main character is Megumi. Like that's easy. That you that's not like a crazy stretch to make, right?
Like Duragonist or have you said?
Yeah,
two protagonists.
Like Megumi, like a lot of stuff is always about Megumi. You know, Toji, like the main that arc, I think you said on Twitter, is like it's about that arc was about Toji, not about Gojo. You know what I'm saying? And Toji's the father of Megumi, like that kind of stuff. But I was always thinking of like, Yuji's the perfect vessel for Sukuna. But then Sukuna basically explains like, yeah, the perfect vessel is not him, it's Megumi. And obviously like Yuji's still great in his own right, but it's like I feel like Gege set up like there was clearly a reason why Yuji being this perfect vessel is not going to go to waste. And obviously like with him no longer having Sukuna, it's like what's the point of what was the point of him being this great vessel? Him being the vessel for Kenjaku would be like, imagine we have like just this might not happen, this probably won't happen, but imagine it's like a Gojo coming out freed, and he's like, he sees you have Megumi being controlled by Sukuna and Yuji being controlled by Kenjaku. Yo, what? Like, come on, bro.
Yeah,
that'd
be depressing.
They'd be like, he's like, yo, like all the people. I mean, first, okay, we're about to touch on this girl right now. So we have, Maki's cool. She's like alive and stuff, but Yuta could be dead, right? Because he might fight Kenjaku. Yeah. Yuta could be dead. It's one of his favorite students. Nobara's been MIA for God knows how long now. And then it would be Yuji and Megumi like possessed. It like Gojo would lose his shit. So it would be.
I mean, I always was of the belief that Gojo isn't. This would be kind of boring. It wouldn't be boring, but it would kind of suck if we never got to see Gojo versus 25 and Sukuna.
Yeah.
I was always of the belief that Gojo's main fight, I guess not always, but like this is a recent thing. Gojo's main fight isn't gonna be against Sukuna. I always think narratively it's been set up that Yuji has to be the one to fight and defeat Sukuna, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
I
his
can
fight.
agree with that.
I think that maybe, okay, this is kind of a wild theory, but maybe after he gets the merger power up, he can somehow contain it. He uses it to defeat Sukuna, and obviously they free Gojo. It's perhaps like if you've read Tokyo Ghoul Re, maybe, if anyone has. If you've read the ending of that, yeah, you would know where I'm going with this, where, I won't say spoilers for it, but something happens in Kaneki. It's something like that where Yuji goes out of control after they freed Gojo, and Gojo's final fight is actually to kill this out of control Yuji.
That would be
which would be depressing.
That would be super depressing. I thought you were about to say like Kenjaku, because like you
but I think Megumi would probably be dead because Sukuna's dead. He might sacrifice himself. Nobara's maybe even if she comes back, maybe she might die again. Like most of the characters are dead,
Damn.
and you have to kill Yuji off yourself.
Yeah,
like,
nah,
just-
that's yeah. But
Yeah.
we could touch on someone who's been dead for what almost as long as Gojo's been sealed. Because there's a Twitter account, shout out him. He was like, yeah, it's been 1,300 days since Gojo was sealed. And I'm like, yo, that nigga has been sealed for a long time. But Nobara, like she's been dead for a long time. Like I'm not gonna lie, she was dead. The last time she was alive, Mai was also alive. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's been a long time. So,
I mean, with Nobara, to be honest, the only thing I could see is if she comes back, maybe she'll obviously get a power if she gets reverse curse technique. She'll have seen the core of curse energy, which she said herself that she's trying to find. But I mean, I made like a crackpot theory a while ago, a long time ago, where it's like she's the key to killing Sukuna and involves Yuji because they still might be connected because Yuji housed his soul and he was his vessel for a while. So maybe if she damages Yuji, it would damage Sukuna because there's a connection there with the resonance. That's how the technique works.
That is her little thing.
It's like she would have to kill Yuji, and that would end up killing Sukuna and I guess Megumi by extension. Maybe that's like that's very depressing. All of this, any outcome we think of, it's just depressing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So do you think she's coming back then? Like you think?
I think it would be odd if she didn't come back by now, but I think with the pace it's going at, the fact that it's confirmed to be ending this year, she'll probably make an appearance. To be honest, I'm hoping. It's just me hoping.
Damn, the manga's coming this year. That's actually crazy. I didn't even peep that. So like yeah, it's just I guess with her it's kind of unfortunate because like I'm not gonna say especially with the last couple the last couple scenes, like she had that one battle with
Eso and Shietsu.
Yeah, though she fought like those guys, and it was cool. It was a good fight, and obviously she was teaming up against, I guess it was one of the clones of Mahito, I think.
Yes, like
it was like
20% or something.
Yeah, she was really like holding her own, but honestly, like it's
she
tough.
Made him run away.
Yeah, like she was pressing him, and it's tough because I think her dying in that scene was great because we saw like Nanami, and then we see Nobara, and Yuji's just like I think it's like. He sees Nanami, right, and then he sees Nobara. And it's like it was a good like development for Yuji and stuff. But I feel like she's been dead for I think honestly for too long for her to come back. And not that she can't come back, but I think that they kind of had her dead for so long. But we have characters now. We have like Kashimo, you have Yuta, like Maki, a lot of characters that have kind of you could or Yuta. A lot of characters that have kind of just jumped in. I think they've taken that third slot of like the third like student kind of because obviously Yuji and Megumi were gonna be 1 and 2, right? Or Megumi Yuji.
It was the whole plot point, right? How Yuji didn't want Hana to replace Nobara.
Exactly, well. Yeah. But he said that, but it still feels like she's fallen by the wayside. And even in terms of strength, she's probably gonna come back like super powerful, but otherwise like she's gonna be so much weaker that it's just kind of tough. I feel like she's been dead for too long.
I do think like her technique, especially depending on her power up, should be a very very strong support. And again, she could even be the key to defeating some of these characters, like because her resonance is so overpowered. Again, it even damaged of all people Mahito, who's undamageable beside by incarnations.
Oh yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. As long as she probably won't get like a one-on-one fight. She'll probably be big assistance in. Let's say if Maki fights Urume, or I guess maybe Yuta fights Yorozu if Yorozu joins Sukuna's side. There's like a lot of possibility. Matchups for the final. Final fight. I do think. By the way, I think Angel's going to be the one to fight Yorozu. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We can touch on Yorozu real quick. That's a top tier plot twist in like manga. Just like even with the whole Megumi like a sister, that's always been a big deal with him, right? Like that's since we knew him, that's kind of been a thing. And then basically we get the reveal that happens. It's like a Sukuna Yuji situation, or she's just always been like Yorozu.
It's for the past I don't want to say 2 weeks. So pretty much a lot of the people who Kenjaku force fed a cursed object went into a coma, but Yorozu actually just awakened for the past 2 weeks. That's when her soul actually transferred and when the binding vow was lifted. Okay. So it was when she actually woke up, but she was in a coma. Potentially just in the cursed realm, like drifting.
Okay. It's clear Gege, it's funny because he wants Sukuna to get pressed, but he doesn't want 15 finger Sukuna to look weak, so he's made all these, not excuses, but we see like Megumi's at least able to hold off. I think they said something like Sukuna's using like 10% of his curse energy, and there's
That
also
is
other nerfs.
not being applied to Yorozu right now, though.
Yeah, okay.
Sukuna's at 100% after the bath.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's a monster. Yeah, she's crazy strong.
Yeah, like
to be doing this.
Because isn't she? Because she's from the Golden Age era, right?
Yes, and
Okay.
she not only is she well aware of Sukuna, she's well aware of Urume, Angel, and she's also aware of, I guess, the cult or religion or group that Angel was a part of. So it's actually the second time we've ever seen it referenced. So the first time was Angel saying, like, she says it's part of the beliefs of God and how people can't incarnate. And Megumi's like, what does that mean? Angel just says, oh, it's part of my beliefs. We actually see Yorozu in the new chapter, 217. She actually says, yeah, the 10 commandments that Angel believes in, they actually don't agree of this love or what we do. So it's like, again, she knows a lot. She was around back in the day. It's also the fact that she is like well aware of Sukuna's technique, and she's the first person to actually name drop his technique. So his technique is called Shrine. So, which is it's surprising. It's not actually Cleave and Dismantle. It's just Shrine. By the way, just to clarify, there was a big mistake by TCB and Viz translations. They mistakenly translate it as Malevolent Shrine. In the actual Japanese, it's 100% just Shrine, and it's specifically written in a way to like distinguish it between the actual domains. It's a completely different thing.
Okay.
So his apparently, his flames and the Cleave and Dismantle, it's all a part of this technique Shrine.
But yeah, like the point you were saying, I don't want to like misspoke on that. Off of what she's doing, she's stronger than like a Yuta. Like, well, I mean, I don't
Shoot, body.
Yeah, it's like she's stronger than like a Yuta. She's stronger than like I don't think she's stronger than 15 finger Sukuna personally, but she's still like she's pressing him, and it's like I don't know, it's kind of crazy.
I mean, think about like Sukuna at like massively nerfed, so less than 10% overall output. His curse technique output was like 2 or 3%. Again, Megumi was nerfing his physical movement. Again, that was a big mistranslation.
Crazy,
I go over all this in my new. It's like because in my new video, bro, you won't even believe. I need to go through like I think 7 different translations.
I'm about to say
because
it's like you made this series beginning of himself. I'm like, yo has all the shot. Like that's really really good though.
Yeah. Because you need to go through different translations, especially the Japanese, because a lot of misconceptions and a lot of poor translations. Unfortunately, just the people who happen to translate JJK don't do a good job.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that also just to go into the Ryu feat. Again, I don't want people to confuse Ryu getting blitzed because he's using Shrine or Cleave and Dismantle. Even without that, he literally moves so fast that, again, without Cleave and Dismantle, he is completely behind him. He's moved behind Ryu.
Before you know.
And if you look at Ryu's face, his brain hasn't even like processed that Sukuna's move. Like he's behind him. He's blitzed his reaction speed with miniature travel speed and combat speed. That is an incredible feat. The fact that his combat / travel speed just blitzed his reaction speed. I don't.
Yeah, it's nasty. It's like
crazy.
It's really nasty work, honestly, at this point. And even like Yuji and Maki are no slouches. They're very like Maki, especially like we've had how many like panels we had where they're like, oh, we've had at least like 4 or 3 panels where it's like Maki is like, we had the first panel with Maki, the Maki Tojo parallel. Then that was the first one. They had another one. Then they had like Maki, her physical power was up there with Toji, but her mental aspect wasn't there. Then they had the Maki is Toji fully real. Like Maki and Toji are at least worst case scenario they're relative. Like they're relative in strength, and like in a battle it'd probably be a high diff battle. And like Sukuna's just embarrassing him, and it's kind of crazy. I think one thing with Sukuna and Yuji is super funny to me is like Sukuna has never had respect for Yuji. Like he's always made fun of him and just slammed him.
Yeah.
And even like Yuji has having cool feats. Like he was I mean, I'm not saying Sukuna was at full power, obviously we know he wasn't, but Yuji was kind of like taking some like he was getting slashed up, and he was chilling, and he was like, oh yeah, you're boring. But Ryu, he was like, oh yeah, look at how like he was slicing Ryu, but he like saying like, it was like the difference in
gave him some respect.
Yeah, it's like
Jogo respect.
Yeah,
he just hates Yuji.
Yeah, he also gave Maki respect too. I think he said some too.
About 3 times. Yeah,
it's just like it's Yuji. I don't know. Yuji is not.
He just hates Yuji.
He just hates bro. So that's just. I mean, nobara just her. I think like you said, I don't even doubt that she'll still have relevance in the series. Like you said, she could even kind of be one of the big hitters. Like she could even help take out Sukuna. That could be a big part of her
support,
character. Yeah. And like when we go back and look at the series, she's just been out of it for so long. It's kind of like unfortunate with that. But
it is what it is.
I guess speaking of Sukuna and kind of I don't think he's gonna get defeated by this person, but I think an interesting clash or battle I'd like to see is kind of Kashimo using his his curse technique against Sukuna. How do you think like a battle like that would kind of go out?
So actually, that's what I'm working on right now. It's like a whole Kashimo, what's gonna happen to him, his curse technique.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also like in the past I've made something. I'm just a big Kashimo fan, and I'm like a big Kashimo fan. I do think with all, because he has multiple different binding vows, and they're very, very extreme on his base curse technique. So obviously one is that it's a one-time use. Another one, probably it's going to be a time limit. Like another one's probably like information review. There's like a bunch of binding vows that he has, and some that he most likely has. And especially if he gives his life to it. By the way, he's smoking 15 fingers if he gave his life. But even if he didn't, just to lose his technique forever is in a tremendous binding vow. And if he puts like a 5-minute time limit or something on it, just to increase it like tenfold or something, which he probably needs to do, I do think there's like a lot of possibilities. So I pray to God it's not just an attack, a one-time attack. That would be really boring. I hope either, have you seen Hunter x Hunter?
Yeah. Well, I've seen. I'm up to like Greed Island. I don't know if that is.
Oh, I was gonna say some spoilers then. Well, there's a character in Hunter x Hunter later on.
Yeah.
Where he has a technique where he fully transforms, like his hair spikes, he has like lightning coursing around him, and his eyes go blue.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I know. Like, that's you talking about Kilo, right?
His Godspeed technique.
Yeah,
yes, I feel like it's gonna be something like that, but on crack. It's gonna be way stronger, like a transformation for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Where like even a regular kick would like wipe out a city block or something. Or maybe he's gonna summon something. I've seen people say he's gonna summon like a Susanoo type of armor, or he's gonna get like a smaller big armor, or maybe like an avatar. Or maybe he's gonna summon a sort of Shikigami or something to help him that's really powerful.
That would be tough.
Whatever it is. Yeah, like, or maybe he also, along with his curse technique, it's possible that he also restricted his domain as well. So on top of his one-time curse technique, he might also be able to now use his domain, which might also be, there's like a lot of theories. Whatever it is, I think he would destroy 15 fingers. If it's 20 fingers, then he's not winning, but I think he'd put up a good fight. But yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm a big Kashimo fan.
I respect it, honestly.
I'll admit it. There's bias.
I actually I want to go back and look at that fight, because that was a pretty good fight. That was a fight where like I think they said something about like he said someone brought up a technique, and I was like, oh shoot, like that was a part with confusion. But that fight was gas, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, obviously I don't foresee Sukuna losing to this guy or anything like that, but
regardless, it'd be high damage.
Exactly. It's still a fight that I kind of, especially with how like how his powers kind of work. There's a lot more to kind of be grabbed at there. To like touch on, like I guess we can go back and circle back to old Yuji, the quote unquote MC. With everything that's happened with him, like an argument I've had with like my friends, we just kind of talk about like how Yuji might have some kind of awakening with all like stuff that's still. There's a lot of things that could be like, maybe it's involving like, because Sukuna's imprint, or like his imprint has been on Yuji for so long. So like maybe it's involving that. There's a couple other avenues it could be, but like, do you think Yuji might have some sort of awakening just in general?
I mean, just to the imprint part, we do remember like even with when Kenjaku body swapped, so he's long since swapped from Coyote Itadori's body, but the curse technique of hers, the anti-gravity, it's still ingrained on his body, like his brain. So even after he left, so it is still possible that even though Sukuna left, the technique might still be ingrained, or it's taking longer to awaken. So it is still possible that he might get the Cleaviness Mantle. Because again, Sukuna does look at his finger, and there's a cut, and he's very surprised by that cut after the bath. So people theorize that maybe Yuji accidentally used Cleaviness Mantle, and it cut his finger. Maybe. There's also the possibility where he's gonna my theory, which is like an ancient theory of mine, where I say he's gonna awaken the flames, because I used to think that the flames weren't a part of his curse technique. It's something people could just do if they have the general knowledge for it. Because of the wording Sukuna uses, where like, oh, you should know about this, but you're not sorcerer, so maybe that's why you don't know. Maybe there's a possibility that he'd get his mother's anti-gravity technique and then reverse it to use the gravity part.
Yeah.
I've seen some big Yuji fans say he's gonna get all of it, so he's gonna have like flaming gravity slashes. I'm like, okay,
that would be tough, but I don't foresee that. That's kind of crazy.
That'd be too broken. I can't even lie, but. And maybe it'd have to do with, like, at the very least, his physical strength has to do with the incarnation or reincarnation that he has, whichever it is, or the guy from Hidima, or how you say that province back in Japan. Regardless, I do think it would be a bit boring if his only power, the physical boost is good, but it's just the fact that it's not even close to Sukuna. Like, it's not even relative at all to 15 Fingers' physical strength. I do think he might need at least one more power up, and it really needs to be a curse technique.
Yeah, because
He didn't need it, but yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, I think for Yuji, especially like before Sukuna was removed from him, I was thinking, I mean, not even, that's not like a unique thought, but Yuji, maybe he'd be able to control some of this like Sukuna's power, kind of like along those, like that's an easy way to give him a power up. But now that for the most part it looks like he's not gonna have that, like I mean, Sukuna might have, like you said, Sukuna might have an imprint of some of his powers from that, but now that for the most part that's kind of gone, we see the avenues for a lot of these guys to get stronger. Even like Yuta, like he hasn't used his domain expansion, but like Yuji, I like he's got to get something to the point of that. So it's just been interesting. But I don't know.
We'll see though. We'll see what happens with Yuji. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's tough. Like I think JJK is in a really great place right now overall, but it's I think there's a lot of topics we kind of want to touch upon and just kind of give our thoughts, because it's a lot of stuff that it's a lot of stuff's in the balance right now, I think, overall. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, some of the things that we theorized today can kind of come to fruition, kind of thing. But any JJK points you want to get off? Anything like left you want to kind of tackle?
To be honest, I think we went for a while. I think it's
yeah.
It's good talking.
Yeah, it's been a smooth hour for sure. I just want to give you like the last opportunity for that. But obviously I appreciate you coming to the channel. I think we've been talking for a while now. I think it was about like a week or so. But it's been good vibes, and obviously even in the video we had a lot of good topics to kind of discuss. But you know what I'm saying, anything you want to plug? Hopefully this video gets out before you drop a video. But anything you're working on right now?
To be honest, no, I'm good. If you watch JJK content, just I guess check me out. And thanks for having me on, though. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, bro. I got you. Any time, honestly. Like this probably not first one-time thing, but yeah, obviously, like
much appreciated.
If you JJK content, like you know exactly where to go. Like so, that obviously for sure that's a fact. But yeah, appreciate y'all obviously all coming through to watch like this collab. But that's all from us. So, you know, peace.
Take care. Bye.